All right, class. We're moving on from did the Vikings. We did William the Conqueror. Uh, Now we are doing King John and the Magna Carta. I'll be posting the 100 Years War before long, probably next week too. But today we're talking about King John and the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was very, very important. It still is one of the most important documents in the history of democracy. So our own Constitution, the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights, was based off the Magna Carta. So, but anyway, Mr. Jordan is texting me, messing up my lesson while I'm sitting here recording. But anyway, Middle Ages, King John and the Magna Carta. That's what we're talking about. Magna Carta. It's King John right here, and the Magna Carta, I said, is a very important document for democracy, and we'll find out what happened. So what is the Magna Carta? All right, King John of England was forced to sign the Magna Carta. This is King John right here, stating that the king was not above the law of the land and protecting the rights of the people. Today, the Magna Carta is considered, like I said, as one of the most important documents in the history of democracy. Like I said, our own Constitution, our own Bill of Rights is based off of the Magna Carta. Play this.
King John and the Magna Carta. What is it? In 1215, King John of England was forced to sign the Magna Carta, stating that the king was not above the law of the land and protecting the rights of the people. Today, the Magna Carta is considered one of the most important documents in the history of democracy.
All right, so some background. John became king. Nobody liked King John, by the way. Barons really didn't like him. But he became king in 1199 when his brother, right here, Richard the Lionheart, died without any children. So John was his brother. So John became king. He had a bad temper. He was very cruel, and he wasn't liked by the barons in England. So they were going to eventually revolt, and they did.
Background. John became king in 1199 when his brother Richard the Lionheart died without any children. John had a bad temper and could be very cruel. He was not liked by the English barons.
John also had to deal with other issues while he was king. He was constantly at war with France. You'll see in the 100 Years War that, France and England did not get along with each other at all. They still don't really get along to this day. He placed a lot of heavy taxes on the barons of England, so that made them mad. And he even made the Pope mad. And he made the Pope mad so much that the Pope excommunicated him or kicked him out of the church. He kicked him out. So, you're doing something pretty bad whenever you make the Pope mad, and he kicks you out of the church. So, let's see what's said here.
Background continued. John also had to deal with lots of issues while he was king. He was constantly at war with France. To fight this war, he placed heavy taxes on the barons of England. He also angered the Pope and was excommunicated from the church, which means he was kicked out.
All right, the barons rebel. I told you the barons were going to rebel at some point. This right here, this picture is Robert Fitzwalter. He was the head of these barons, all right? They decided to rebel. They marched on London, all right, and they called themselves the Army of God. But after taking London, John agreed to negotiate with them. King John agreed to negotiate with them after they took London.
The barons rebel. By 1215, the barons of northern England had had enough of John's high taxes. They decided to rebel. Led by Baron Robert Fitzwalter, they marched on London, calling themselves the Army of God. After taking London, John agreed to negotiate with them.
So signing the Magna Carta, King John met with the barons on June the 15th, 1215 at Runnymede. All right. He signed a document that was called the Magna Carta. And by signing the document, King John agreed to do his duty as the King of England, upholding the law, running a fair government, and in return, the barons said, hey, okay, we'll give you back London. All right. Things didn't go as planned, though. They never do. All right. Because 99% of the time we talk about stuff, it's about money and it's about greed in history. Well, they were both greedy. The barons were greedy. King John was greedy. All right. So, one of them's going to break the other one's this little peace treaty that they signed here, and not do it. No, the Magna Carta really wasn't a peace treaty, but it was supposed to bring peace, but it didn't really bring peace. So let's see what's said here.
Signing the Magna Carta. King John met the barons on June 15, 1215 at Runnymede, a neutral site just west of London. Here the barons demanded that King John sign a document called the Magna Carta, guaranteeing them certain rights. By signing the document, King John agreed to do his duty as King of England, upholding the law and running a fair government. In return, the barons agreed to stand down and surrender London.
But like I said, it didn't happen like that. All right, neither side had any intention actually of doing that or following the agreement. King John attempted to nullify the agreement. He had the Pope declare the document illegal and unjust. And at the same time, the barons didn't surrender London. So neither one of them stayed true to their word of what they were going to do with him signing the Magna Carta and them surrendering London. Neither one of them did. So, and I told you a lot of it was about greed. They didn't want to pay the money. They didn't want to pay those taxes. They didn't like it because he was cruel. They didn't like him, period. They didn't like King John. The barons didn't.
Civil War. It turns out that neither side had any intention of following the agreement. Not long after signing, King John attempted to nullify the agreement. He even had the Pope declare the document illegal and unjust. At the same time, the barons didn't surrender London.
So soon the country was facing civil war. And it was called the First Barons War is what it was called, this war. It was led by Robert Fitzwalter, who I showed a picture of a minute ago. And they were supported by French troops. So they fought each other for about a year until King John just suddenly died in 1216. And it put a quick end to the war when that happened because, I mean, they weren't fighting anybody anymore. So, but it was called the First Barons War. That was the name of the war.
Civil War continued. Soon the country of England was facing civil war. The barons, led by Robert Fitzwalter, were supported by French troops. For a year, the barons fought King John in what is called the First Barons War. However, King John died in 1216, putting a quick end to the war.
All right. So the details of the Magna Carta. It wasn't short. There were like 63 clauses in the document, and it outlined different things. Some of these rights I'm going to talk about on the next page were promised in the Magna Carta. It was a big ordeal, and like I said, it was so drawn out and well done that they use it for our Constitution and our Bill of Rights from the United States.
Details of the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta was not a short document. There were actually 63 clauses in the document outlining various laws that the barons wanted the king to enforce. Some of the rights these clauses promised included.
All right, they included the protection of church rights, access to swift justice, no new taxes. All right, that's part of the agreement. No new tax. Nobody likes to pay money. I don't like paying money. I don't like paying taxes. Nobody does. All right. I mean, that was part of what started the American Revolution that we talked about was taxes because it's always about what? It's always about money. They wanted protection from illegal imprisonment because they didn't like John. John just put people in jail. And then a council of 25 barons who would ensure that King John followed these laws. All these details were in the Magna Carta.
Details of the Magna Carta continued. Protection of church rights, access to swift justice, no new taxes without the barons' agreement, limitations on feudal payments, protections from illegal imprisonment, a council of 25 barons who would ensure that King John followed the laws.
All right. So the legacy, the ideas of the Magna Carta also influenced the constitutions and development of other countries. And like I said, the Bill of Rights and the United States Constitution were both written from the Magna Carta. So they wanted to rebel and form their own country. The colonists did, and the ideas came from the Magna Carta for the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights. All these things happened. And say hello to Miss Alba, everybody. Y'all can see her now. All right, we're doing a live lesson, Miss Alba. I was just doing that while I was waiting on y'all to come in here. But anyway, these were all part of the legacy of the Magna Carta. Let's go on to our comprehension questions. Who was forced to sign the Magna Carta? Was it A, William the Conqueror, B, King John, or C, Mr. Betts? It was King John. William the Conqueror was the first king from England, or from France, I'm sorry. Mr. Betts, y'all know Mr. Betts didn't have anything to do with all this. He's just a history teacher that does songs for us. All right. And King John was, let's see if it was King John.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Yes, it was King John. That's one of the answers to your comprehension questions. Who died that made John the king? Who was it that died that made John the king? Was it A, Richard the Lionheart, B, Mr. Betts, or C, King Harold? It was Richard the Lionheart. He was King John's brother. He didn't have any kind of family, anybody to give the throne to, so King John took over, much to everybody's dismay, because they didn't like King John because he was rude, he was cruel. They just didn't like him. The barons especially didn't like him. Let's see if it's Richard the Lionheart.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
It was. Number 3, who did King John anger and it got him excommunicated from the church? Was it Matilda of Flanders? Was it Mr. Sean? Or was it the Pope? It was the Pope. All right. He angered the Pope. So guess what the Pope did? Excommunicated him. That means he kicked him out. He said, bye. See you, Felicia. I don't want you in here, John. So he got him out. He got him out of the church because he angered him.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
That is right. Number 4, who was the leader of the barons that called themselves the Army of God? Was it A, Robert Fitzwalter, B, Mr. Betts, or C, King Harold? He was the leader of the barons. We talked about this guy. This is Robert Fitzwalter. Robert Fitzwalter was the leader of the barons. And they called themselves the Army of God when they came up to march on London and take over London. Well,
ding, ding, ding.
There we go. That's the right answer. All right, and the last one. What document does the Magna Carta influence in America? Was it A, nothing, B, the Constitution and Bill of Rights, or C, the Declaration of Independence? It was B, the Constitution.
Ding, ding, ding.
Our stuff is modeled after it. We have a lot of the same things in the Constitution and principles that came from the Magna Carta. All right. This is all for today. I'm going to stop recording now, and I'll post this up, and we'll have the reading and everything. So I'll talk. This will be going up Wednesday, tomorrow, actually. Today. All right. Have a good day, class.